Did you know that your everyday morning routine, the same one you've followed for years, might be quietly setting you up for a stroke? Most older adults in America never suspect it. They assume strokes strike suddenly out of nowhere like lightning. But after decades studying the aging brain, I can tell you the earliest warnings don't start in a hospital room. They start in your bedroom, your kitchen, your bathroom, right in the first hour after you wake up. Because after age 60, your brain enters the morning in its most fragile state. Your blood is thicker, your pressure is rising, your vessels are stiffer, and certain habits, common harmless-looking habits, can triple your stroke risk before you even pour your first cup of coffee. In this video, I'll reveal the hidden morning triggers most seniors never recognize until it's too late, and the simple changes that could protect your brain for years to come. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoyed this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Habit number 1. Drinking coffee immediately after waking up. When I speak with my older patients here in the United States, I often begin with a question that seems harmless. What is the first thing you put into your body each morning? Most smile and answer proudly, "Doctor, my coffee. I've done it for 40 years. But after decades as a brain physician, I can tell you this familiar American morning ritual is one of the most underestimated triggers of early morning strokes in adults over 60. Here is why. During the night, your body enters a long unbroken stretch without fluid, usually 6 to 8 hours. As we age, the body loses its ability to retain moisture efficiently, and older adults naturally wake up in a state of mild dehydration. This is not just being thirsty. In medical terms, nighttime dehydration increases blood viscosity, meaning the blood becomes thicker, slower, heavier. Thick blood forces the heart to pump harder and reduces the smooth, steady flow your brain depends on every second. Now imagine what happens when this already thick blood meets your morning cup of coffee. Caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, pulls even more water from your system. It acts as a diuretic, worsening the dehydration you already woke up with. At the same time, caffeine stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight response, creating a surge in heart rate and blood pressure just minutes after you open your eyes. For a healthy 30-year-old, that surge may not cause much trouble. But for someone over 60 whose arteries are stiffer, whose blood vessels are narrower, and whose brain is already vulnerable, this combination becomes extremely dangerous. Here's what can happen inside your body. It triggers strokes. In the early morning, blood pressure naturally rises. Add dehydration plus caffeine, and you produce a sudden spike capable of overwhelming delicate vessels in the brain. It forms blood clots. Thick concentrated blood is far more likely to clot. When caffeine further constricts the blood vessels, the narrowing increases the chance that a clot will get stuck, and when that happens in the brain, the result is an ischemic stroke. It reduces early morning blood flow to the brain. Older adults already experience a morning dip in cerebral perfusion. Starting the day with caffeine instead of hydration deepens that dip, starving brain cells of oxygen during a period when they are the most vulnerable. I still remember an 82-year-old patient of mine from Arizona. He had no major medical problems, no smoking history, and walked a mile every day. But he began experiencing brief episodes of hand clumsiness and trouble recalling simple words at breakfast. His scans later showed he'd had small silent TAZs, tiny strokes occurring shortly after waking. His only consistent habit, drinking strong black coffee every morning before drinking a single sip of water. When we reversed that routine, water first, coffee 20 to 30 minutes later, those episodes stopped completely. This is not about giving up coffee, it's about timing. Your brain does not want stimulation the moment you wake. It wants circulation, it wants hydration, it wants safety. And if this one simple habit can quietly push a healthy older adult toward a stroke, then you must ask yourself, what other morning behaviors are silently increasing your risk without you realizing it? Habit number 2. Sitting too long on the edge of the bed without moving. Among my older patients in the United States, this is one of the habits they almost never think about. They wake up, push themselves upright, sit on the edge of the bed, and stay there sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 20 waiting for their body to warm up. It feels harmless. It feels gentle. But medically, for adults over 60, this quiet stillness is far from harmless. In fact, it is one of the most subtle early morning conditions that triggers strokes and silently forms blood clots before you even take your first steps of the day. When you sleep, blood flow slows and pools naturally in the lower part of the body. This is normal. But as we age, something important changes. The veins in our legs lose elasticity, the valves weaken, and circulation becomes sluggish. So when an older adult wakes up and sits without moving, the blood that pooled during the night continues to stagnate in the legs instead of rising back toward the heart and brain. This is a dangerous moment. Your heart is trying to restore circulation after hours of lying down, but your stillness prevents that upward flow. The result is a sudden mismatch. thick, slow-moving blood in the legs while your brain is desperately waiting for oxygen and nutrients after a long night. Here's where the real danger begins. It triggers strokes. When blood remains trapped in the legs and fails to reach the brain efficiently, your blood pressure can spike as the heart tries to compensate. This sharp rise in pressure, especially common in older adults, can rupture fragile vessels in the brain or worsen a pre-existing blockage. It forms blood clots. Stagnant morning blood is a breeding ground for clot formation. If a clot forms in the deep veins of the legs, a single stretch or sudden movement can dislodge it and send it upward. When that clot travels to the brain, it can block a vessel instantly and cause a devastating ischemic stroke. It decreases early morning brain perfusion. Sitting still prevents the natural pump action of the calf muscles, the very mechanism your body relies on to push blood upward. Without that muscle pump, older adults experience some of the lowest morning cerebral blood flow levels of the entire day precisely when the brain is the most fragile. I once treated a 79-year-old man from Ohio who believed he was having balance issues every morning. He described a strange fog, his hands trembling slightly, and a moment of drifting vision whenever he rose from the bed. He assumed it was just age, but what struck me was his routine. He sat on the edge of the bed for 25 minutes every morning checking the news on his phone. His scans later revealed microclots in the small vessels of the brain, tiny silent injuries caused by poor circulation during the morning transition. When he shortened his sitting time and added gentle ankle rolls and shoulder movements before standing, those symptoms disappeared. This shows how something so ordinary, so familiar, can quietly drift into the category of danger without anyone noticing. Your first minutes after waking are a crossroads. Either you activate circulation or you let stillness sabotage it. A few seconds of gentle motion, flexing the toes, rotating the ankles, rolling the shoulders can be the difference between healthy morning flow and dangerous stagnation. Habit number 3. Rushing to the bathroom the moment you stand up. Among my older patients across the United States, this is one of the most common and most misunderstood morning habits. Many seniors wake up with urgency, often because of nighttime urination, and the very first thing they do is stand up quickly and rush straight to the bathroom. It feels natural, it feels necessary. But for adults over 60, this simple action creates one of the most dangerous physiological shifts of the entire day. When you stand suddenly after lying down, your body must instantly compensate to maintain blood flow to the brain. Younger adults handle this shift without difficulty. But in older adults, the cardiovascular reflexes are weaker, vessels are stiffer, and the heart takes longer to stabilize. This creates a moment of orthostatic stress, a sudden drop in blood pressure as gravity pulls blood toward the legs. If you move too quickly, the brain is left briefly undersupplied with oxygen, causing dizziness, blurred vision, and instability. Combine this with rushing to the bathroom and straining to urinate, and the risks escalate sharply. Many early morning strokes occur in or near the bathroom where these rapid shifts take place. Blood clots can form, pressure surges can rupture fragile vessels, and the heart is put under extreme stress. I remember a 76-year-old woman from Michigan who experienced 2 frightening episodes. Each morning, brief blackouts right after reaching the bathroom. She jumped out of bed the moment her eyes opened, hurried to the bathroom, and strained. Her blood pressure readings showed sharp drops followed by sudden spikes. She later learned she had suffered 2 tiny TAs, silent mini-strokes, likely triggered by those abrupt morning transitions. This habit feels harmless because it's part of daily life. But for an older body, the first 60 seconds after waking require respect, patience, and gentleness. Slow down. Pause before rising. Give your body a chance to find balance before you step away from the bed. Habit number 4. Skipping breakfast or taking morning medications on an empty stomach. Among older adults in the United States, this habit has quietly become part of modern morning culture. Many seniors wake up, drink coffee, take their medications, and head into the morning with nothing in their stomach. Some do it because they don't feel hungry. Others because they're trying intermittent fasting. Many simply fall into the routine without questioning its impact. As a physician who has treated thousands of older Americans, I can tell you this. For people over 60, starting the day without food is one of the most dangerous early morning stressors you can place on the brain. Not eating in the morning doesn't just make you feel weak. It changes your physiology in ways that can trigger strokes and quietly form blood clots long before lunchtime. During the night, your body burns through stored glucose to keep your brain functioning during sleep. When you wake up, your brain expects replenishment. But as we age, the liver becomes less efficient at releasing stored glucose. This means older adults are far more vulnerable to morning hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, that isn't dramatic enough to cause fainting but is enough to restrict the brain's access to fuel. And the brain is the most sensitive organ in your body. It has almost no ability to store energy and needs a steady flow. When the brain doesn't get that supply, several dangerous things unfold. Blood pressure rises sharply. The body senses low glucose as a threat. In response, stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are released to force glucose into the bloodstream. These hormones tighten blood vessels, which can raise blood pressure to unsafe levels. Blood becomes more prone to clotting. Low glucose alters platelet activity and thickens blood consistency. In older adults, this creates the perfect environment for clot formation. A small clot that forms in the morning, combined with dehydration and stiff blood vessels, can travel upward and block a vessel in the brain. Circulation becomes unstable. When the brain senses a shortage of fuel, blood flow becomes irregular. Vessels dilate and constrict unpredictably. For aging arteries that may already contain plaque, these fluctuations can loosen debris or worsen blockages. Medications become more dangerous on an empty stomach. Many older Americans take blood pressure pills, diabetes medication, thyroid pills, or anticoagulants in the morning. Without food, these drugs hit the bloodstream too quickly, causing sudden drops in pressure or sharp fluctuations that destabilize circulation. I once cared for a 72-year-old man from Florida who thought he was doing something healthy by skipping breakfast and drinking only black coffee. He began experiencing short waves of confusion, shaky hands, and difficulty recalling words around 10 o'clock a.m. He assumed it was just aging, but when we checked his blood glucose patterns, the truth was clear. He was dropping too low each morning. Taking medications on an empty stomach amplified the swings in his blood pressure. A scan later revealed he had suffered a small morning mini-stroke, likely caused by the combination of low blood sugar, dehydration, and medication taken without food. Once he added a small morning meal, nothing heavy, just yogurt, a boiled egg, or a few walnuts, his symptoms disappeared completely. Breakfast for older adults is not about appetite. It is about stability. It's about giving the brain the fuel it needs to protect itself from the chaos of morning physiology. Habit number 5. Starting your day with stress-checking the news, emails, or social media too soon. This habit, surprisingly common, is quietly destructive. It doesn't involve movement, diet, or medication. It involves something far more subtle and dangerous for an aging brain: early morning stress. For many seniors, the day begins the moment the phone lights up or the TV turns on. News alerts, financial updates, political headlines, emails from family, messages from friends. Your brain is flooded with stimulation before your feet even touch the floor. To a 60, 70, or 80-year-old nervous system, this is a shock, a jolt, a sudden wave of psychological stress delivered at the most vulnerable moment of the entire day. The medical reality: the human body is wired to experience a natural cortisol surge in the early morning. Cortisol is a stress hormone that, in healthy amounts, helps you wake up and regain alertness. It peaks between 6 o'clock a.m. and 9 a.m., and in older adults, this peak is even higher and lasts longer. Now, imagine adding emotional stress on top of that physiological stress. Your blood pressure is already rising. Your blood is thicker from nighttime dehydration. Your nervous system is still shifting from sleep mode to wakefulness, and your circulation is trying to stabilize. Suddenly, you introduce fear, frustration, worry, or emotional overload through a glowing screen or a blaring TV. The result in the older body is alarming: a powerful spike in blood pressure, constriction of already stiff blood vessels, sudden increase in heart workload, and an immediate drop in blood flow to critical areas of the brain. Habit number 6. Ignoring morning blood pressure checks is a silent danger that most seniors never see coming. Many older adults say, "Doctor, I only check my blood pressure when something feels wrong." This seems harmless. But for adults over 60, the most dangerous blood pressure surges happen quietly and predictably every morning. During the early morning hours, the body experiences what physicians call the dawn phenomenon. Cortisol levels rise sharply, adrenaline increases, and the cardiovascular system begins pushing blood harder and faster to prepare the body for the day. In younger adults, vessels expand easily, and the heart adapts quickly. But in an older body, arteries are stiffer, plaque is more common, and circulation is less flexible. This natural surge becomes risky and is often the single most volatile period for blood pressure, occurring before breakfast, before medications, and before most seniors think to measure it. Morning hypertension is one of the strongest predictors of stroke in older adults, far more than afternoon or evening readings. When blood pressure spikes in the morning, fragile brain vessels, often narrowed by age or plaque, face intense pressure. Even a brief momentary surge can rupture a weakened vessel or worsen an existing blockage. High morning pressure pushes thick, dehydrated blood through narrow vessels, increasing friction and encouraging clot formation. Any clot that forms can travel upward and block a cerebral artery within seconds, causing an ischemic stroke. Many older adults have no symptoms beforehand because the danger builds silently, unnoticed. Often, the effects manifest as microinfarcts, tiny strokes in small brain vessels, which accumulate over time and contribute to memory decline, slower thinking, balance problems, and diminished emotional stability. I once treated a 78-year-old man from Virginia who insisted his blood pressure was always fine. He only checked it in the evenings, and readings appeared normal. but I suggested measuring it each morning for a week. The results were shocking. Evening readings were around 130/75, but morning surges reached as high as 180/95. Within that week, he experienced brief episodes of vision blurring and momentary confusion. Warnings from the brain he had ignored for years. Adjusting his schedule and medication timing stopped those episodes. The critical change wasn't the pill itself, but the awareness and measurement. A blood pressure monitor becomes more than a device. It is a shield between seniors and one of the most common causes of disability. Checking morning pressure takes less than 60 seconds, but those seconds can make the difference between a stable day and an irreversible event. Habit 7 is equally silent, yet extremely dangerous. Spending the first hour of the morning sitting still. Many older adults believe this calm, slow start is good for them, but medically, it is one of the most powerful and silent drivers of stroke risk. After waking, blood is thicker from overnight dehydration, muscles are stiff, and veins are relaxed. Blood pressure begins to rise as the brain transitions out of sleep. Movement is crucial to help the body adjust safely. Stillness, especially prolonged, traps the body in a state where poor circulation becomes dangerous circulation. The calf muscles, which act as a natural pump to push blood toward the heart, remain inactive. Veins weakened with age allow blood to pool in the legs, which thickens and slows over time. Meanwhile, the brain is demanding oxygen and nutrients after hours of sleep, but sluggish circulation struggles to deliver them. This creates an internal traffic jam, slow-moving blood below and an undersupplied brain above. This stillness triggers strokes because the heart compensates by increasing pressure. In seniors with stiff arteries or narrowed vessels, this rise can rupture fragile areas of the brain or worsen an existing blockage. Many morning strokes occur not from exertion but from inactivity. Stagnant blood in the legs forms clots. A clot formed during this quiet hour can break free the moment a senior stands, travel through the bloodstream, and lodge in a cerebral artery within seconds. It dramatically reduces early morning brain perfusion, causing fogginess or slow thinking, often mistaken for normal aging. I treated a 74-year-old retired engineer from Colorado who followed a daily ritual. Wake up, sit quietly in his recliner with the newspaper, and remain still for nearly an hour. He experienced blurred vision, tingling fingertips, and brief confusion around 9 a.m. Scans revealed multiple tiny clots. Silent microstrokes formed during long periods of stillness when circulation repeatedly faltered. When we added just 5 minutes of light movement, marching in place, arm circles, gentle stretching, his symptoms stopped completely. The older body does not require force, sweat, or intensity. It needs gentle, steady flow to wake the cardiovascular system safely. 2 to 5 minutes of light mobility can dramatically reduce morning stroke risk, yet millions of seniors remain unaware of this hidden crisis forming beneath the surface. The overarching lesson is clear. Protecting the brain begins the moment you wake. The first hour determines whether blood flows efficiently or stagnates, whether the brain receives oxygen and nutrients or suffers silent damage. The 7 morning habits we've outlined are measurable physiological threats that push the aging brain toward danger, rushing the body when it needs stability, starving it when it needs fuel, flooding it with stress when it needs calm, and allowing stillness to harden into stagnation. Each habit increases clot formation risk, elevates blood pressure, and sets the stage for potential strokes. But there is hope. These habits are entirely adjustable with awareness, intention, and gentle changes. Drink water before coffee. Perform light mobility before standing. Enjoy a calm transition instead of stress. Nourish the brain with breakfast. Measure morning blood pressure, and replace prolonged stillness with movement. These small actions are not minor, they are medicine, protection, and longevity in its purest form. Decades of practice have convinced me that the difference between a life altered by stroke and a life lived fully often comes down to the choices made in these quiet, early moments. Your brain seeks attention, your body seeks compassion, and your future self seeks action while you have the power to change the path ahead. Because if mornings can quietly increase stroke risk, they can also powerfully protect you once treated with respect and awareness. Small changes made today can safeguard years of healthy, independent life. Tomorrow, I encourage reflection and action. Identify one habit you can change tomorrow morning and commit to it. Your brain and body will thank you. Subscribe for more health tips to protect your brain and body. Small changes today can safeguard years of healthy, independent life tomorrow.